Welcome to Pathways to Greatness, where we explore the journeys of exceptional individuals who have achieved remarkable success in their fields. Whether you're an aspiring athlete, a business leader, or simply someone striving to reach your full potential, this podcast is your guide to unlocking the greatness within you. Join us as we dive into inspiring stories, practical strategies, and the mindset shifts that can transform your path to greatness. Let's embark on this journey together. Hey, welcome back to Pathways to Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Forrester, and on today's show, we have Coach Katelyn Sallee. I think I pronounced it correct this time. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But anyways, so I found her just like I find the majority of my guests on Instagram, and she puts out great instructional reels on Instagram, and they're all volleyball specific. And so my daughter, as you guys know, plays volleyball. And so I was pulled into that algorithm because of who she is and the content that she posts. And it's absolutely fantastic stuff. She's also a staff member for FCA. Her husband's an area director in Northern Kentucky. And so it's just a lot of similarities that I have. And knowing that she's got a heart for the Lord, a heart for volleyball, I had to have her on. I had to have a conversation, and it did not disappoint. I can see where her passion and love for helping young people, one, learn the game, love the game, but most importantly, assign their identity to them being a child of God first. And that's what's so critical and important for all of us to remember and to never forget. So without further ado, Coach Katelyn Sallee. So everybody, it's Coach Katelyn. Is it Sallee? I should have asked you that when we were talking.
Sallee. I typically, with my players, I write it on a board. I'm like, this is hard. I know. We can do it together.
Got it. Well, thank you for joining the show today. And everybody, this is a one that I've really been excited about getting together with. So here we go.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Well, before we get going, I know you've listened to an episode or two. I always like to play Would You Rather. Are you ready?
Do it, ready or not.
This is like Jeopardy. It's like you have all the answers when you're watching it, but then if you're on stage, that's when it becomes difficult.
Yeah. Am I a pressure player? I don't know. We're going to see. I think so.
Here we go. All right. So would you rather go forward 100 years or back 100 years?
Man, that's a hard one, especially for a woman, because part of me wants to like slow down your life. That's great. But then I have like zero rights. So I feel like I think I still would rather go back. I feel like the 100 years in the future, like feels really fast to me. I love progress, but I also love simple. So I don't know. That kind of surprises me that I said backwards. It could go either way.
See, and you'll second guess yourself because it's like you come up with stuff. So is there anything particular if we roll back the clock to 1925 that you're really curious about?
Well, that's like my grandparents' generation, like when they right around the time they were born. Actually, my grandfather's 96. He's still with us. And so we pick his brain a lot. I think I think people were more connected. I think there is a neighborliness that I long for. And I think we try our best to recreate that in the culture that we have, but it's just our culture because we have the ability to spread, which is awesome for things like the gospel and things like reaching out to people who are in need far away from you and staying connected in that way. I think there's a loss in the one-to-one connectivity. And so I think and there's a lot of other things that are probably way worse, but I don't know, the simple life, it just kind of speaks to me a little bit.
I would agree. And so my next question is, if you think about now, so with what you said, because it's biblical, be the good neighbor. Mm-hmm. How do you feel like in this technology age of everybody being distant? I mean, here we are, we're in completely different areas of the country having this conversation. How do we curate that to fit now, to be neighborly, to have those connections, even though we might not be able to be like right next to each other?
Yeah. I think for me, it's fighting for space in my life where quality is high. I'm thankful that quantity can change. I'm thankful. This whole social media world for me is newer. I mean, I've used it as a person for a long time, but to really make a reach past my immediate network this is all new. And so I'm thankful for the impact that can happen. I'm thankful for the shared ideas, and that anything that's blessed me can be given away freely and quickly. But I think fighting for, to not lose sight of those that are near you, and really holding fast to, deepening intimacy with family and close friends, and not substitute that. So it can just be there can be so much noise. I've had to fight for finding quiet in my life, because if you don't fight for that, it just gets louder, and there are more voices and there are more things pulling on you. And so I think just fighting for me, simplifying things, spending time quietly with God, who are the people he's put in my care, and not doing that well all the time, but fighting to do it better. I think that's my ongoing answer.
Yeah. And it's a great one. And I think what I'm reading between the lines also, because it just hit my heart, is not multitasking every time we're doing something, because it's so easy to think that we can check email, check text messages while we're having a conversation with someone. But that means we're not wholly with that person, where back in the day, there wasn't an option. When you're standing in front of somebody, you're standing in front of them and you're having the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I just read, a book that probably most of you have read, but The Anxious Generation, and just talking about the embodied experience and how that is not to be cast off, that we can have such quality interactions like this. This is good. This isn't everything we were built for. We were built for an embodied physical touch experience. And so, I don't know, that was just really important for me to hear and see in writing and go, okay, yeah, I need to make sure that I'm not losing sight of that.
Yeah, no, great point. Okay, so the next one. Would you rather always make the right decision or know the right answer?
Make the right decision. I think bias to action is kind of that's kind of where I live. I want to step, I want to go, I want to respond. But I don't want to just do that in vain. I want to do that in line with where God is leading. And so what is right needs to be done. I don't want to just be busy. I don't want to just do things. I don't want to just know what's good and then not respond. So I think responding to what is good and true is the most valuable thing.
Awesome. Now, this next one may be one of the most important questions that I ask. Would you rather have pizza or tacos?
Depends on the sauces. I'm a sauce girl, so I'm going to say tacos, because I think the Mexican, the sauce game is strong.
Now, what's your go-to taco order?
I don't know if you guys have a condado. We have a condado taco downtown here in Cincinnati, and there's one called the Ooey Gooey. So I'm typically chicken. I like lots of veggies. I like some heat, and I like some cheese. So you give me queso and something spicy, I'm gonna be happy.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Now this isn't a would you rather, but it's a question. Is if you came with a warning label, what would it say?
I would say prepare to move. Challenge has been a word that's been on me. It's preceded me sometimes. She is challenging, but like she can be a challenger. But I lately the word invitation has been put on me of, instead of just thinking of, I want to give you a challenge. So I'm kind of in the world of one-to-one discipleship a lot, young athletes, sitting across them, having the privilege to walk with them through hard decisions and things like that. And I used to always use the language, hey, I have a challenge for you. Or I would preface what's coming, a hard thing, with hey, I have a challenge for you. And recently, someone who has been a mentor in my life has been saying things like, hey, what is God inviting you into? And I'm like, whoa, that is beautiful. And it's still a challenge. It's still not easy. It's not always comfortable, but it requires movement. And it's less of a push and it's more of a, hey, come here. Like, what are you going to do? And so I think my heart longs to be a catalyst for movement in people's lives toward what God is already speaking, that they might not hear or that they might not have the courage to do. So be ready to move.
And so how is movement, or why do you think movement is so scary for some people?
I think it's foreign. I think it's the unknown. It's, I'm having these conversations all the time. We are all wrestling typically. Sometimes we're in a season of waiting and we don't really know what's next. But anytime we're in a place of, man, I feel like something is coming. I think a decision has to be made. I think different people are wired different ways. Like I go from scared to excited pretty quickly on the change continuum. My husband he's more of a settler. He's more of my heart is here. Let's just land here. Let's grow deep roots. And I love that about him. And we've experienced so much fruit, but I'm more wired toward, man, I don't want to be stuck in one place for too long. I get really excited about stirring some good things up, seeing what God has for people, giving it away, and then moving to something else. Not the next great thing, just not even a greater thing, just kind of, I don't know. I like that. But I think it can be scary. It's just the unknown.
Have you always been like that?
It's funny. In some ways, I say I'm an extroverted, non-adventurous person. So like, that's a really hard thing for people to understand. Like, I'm not a big traveler. I just traveled. I went out of the country to London for the first time ever this year on a sabbatical. It was an incredible experience. I would do it again. But I'm not like a bucket list travel girl. Like I don't eat like crazy things at restaurants. Like I'm not adventurous in that way, but I've always been, if I can catch vision for something, then yes, I've always, if I understand a deeper why, then I'm willing to take risks. And that's kind of always been who I am, but I'm not just like a risk taker in general. Like, I'm not just like somebody who's like, yeah, let's just try new things for fun. But if I can see a really significant why, then yeah.
Yeah. So some more description of the why that moves you versus the actual excitement of something new and different.
Right. Exactly. I love being like, I have no desire to leave. I'm coaching at a score now. I have no desire to leave that. I was at another place for 8 years. I love that. I love the depth of relationship. But I also think there's something about when God starts to do something in you, and you start to notice that, then I can't stay comfortable in that place because I know he actually is good and that he has something good for me.
I had to make a note. We're going to come back to that. So one of the things that I did, so I started Pathways to Greatness a little over 3 years ago to have people on like yourself, to have discussions around what is the definition of greatness, because everybody has a different definition, even though it may be similar. And nobody yet has had a straight line that's linear on their pathway towards their whatever their definition of greatness is. And ultimately, I just want people to be equipped to not stop. I want them to persevere, have resilience, and just have that adventurous, excited spirit about why they want to do what they want to do, and then pursue it with passion and excitement, even though sometimes you may not want to keep moving, but you just got to keep moving. So with all that being said, what would you say your definition of greatness is?
I'll start simple and then I'll unpack it. I think it's obedience. I think it's, like I said earlier, listening and responding. So if I am in tune with my maker, he made me, he knows what greatness in Katelyn looks like. And it might look different than what greatness in Jeff looks like. And it might look different than, because you were made for certain things that are good and not what I was made for. Like there's just so much unique stuff that God put in us. And so I think greatness looks like listening to him, responding to him, leaning in instead of leaning out. I care a lot about excellence. And so when I say yes to something, do it really well. I think that's going to be, you're going to be on a pathway to greatness if you are listening to the Spirit in your life, you're responding with a yes, and then you commit with excellence and you give all that you can, living your life as a literal offering. And the beauty of greatness is it doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be a big audience. It doesn't have to be, greatness is not defined by what others are saying, or how others are responding, or how much they're willing to spend. I think that is the cultural definition of greatness. How great do others see you? And what I'm trying to fight for is, even in the midst of having some sort of audience? How do I hold fast to who is God calling me to be? And am I pleasing him? And living my life with literal earmuffs and saying, the voice of man doesn't get to tell me how great I am or how ungreat I am, right? The voice of my Father does. So yeah, obedience.
That last part is, I hope people didn't just move past it quickly, so I'm bringing this back up so maybe they wake up and pay attention, is that we can't listen to culture telling us how great we are, that's what we all want, because it's easy to say, well, I'm not going to listen to culture when they tell us how bad we are, but the two go hand in hand. Wouldn't you agree?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard to not get caught in that pinball machine of, I got beat up on this thing I did or said. But now people are loving me again. Oh, okay, good. I can be at peace. It's like, in the same way that an athlete, we talk to athletes all the time about identity. And I'm thankful that is no longer a quiet message. That is a message that a lot of athletes that are somewhere on the Christian walk or spectrum are hearing, that your identity can't be in your performance. Like 15 years ago, I don't think that was being spoken over people. I think people are hearing it more now because the train wreck that can come from considering your performance your source of greatness is pretty apparent. You got Scotty Scheffler, who's the greatest in the world right now, saying things like, man, if golf were to ever interfere with the thing I can do in my home, or the way I can be a husband, or the way I can be a dad, or, hey, I've won these things, and man, I would never sacrifice this for that. Like, we need voices like that because it's not about what the audience is telling you or what the world is telling you. It's about truly who you are and resting in that greatness, the greatness that God has put on you himself, not the one that's earned. But it's not easy. It's like a daily thing, especially for me as I walk through the social media vortex, man. It's wild. I've gotten so much better at it. It's been a muscle I've had to flex of quieting that down, taking time away from it. I've got a great guy who helps me manage some of that stuff. So there are times I just need to go, you know what? I'm not going to dive into comments for the next couple of days. I'm just going to let it be and let my work kind of like bless people, but I'm not going to engage. I need to take time away. And then there's times I'm going to engage and I need to protect my heart on, again, do I believe that what I'm doing is good? And if that's the case, then I can push through the negativity. You know, I've had to really operate in that in a new way, which has been uncomfortable and good.
I bet. I can't imagine reading the comments
Yeah.
because, I mean, even as something just everybody's got an opinion. My dad, he cleaned it up. He's like, an opinion's like a belly button. Everybody's got one. So
Yep.
it's challenging because everybody has their peace of mind, especially in athletics. And parents, we're the worst because we all have our opinions of how it should be done. And if we did it, we'd be undefeated and all the girls would perform. It's not true.
Right.
We probably would crumble halfway through and like, I'm done. Yeah. I'm out. Yep. Back to your why.
Everyone should have to give it a go just to see. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I completely agree. And that's where, you know, my wife and I is that she takes pictures because she's like, I'm going to sit there with the camera in my hand because then I can't say anything. Nobody can see my face because I have the camera up, and it's just finding ways to manage through it because ultimately it's for them. It's for the love of them. And, you know, my daughter's 15, will soon to be 15, and people are treating them like they're playing professionally and they're getting lots of money when they're just out there because they want to play volleyball.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Parents ruin everything.
You know, it's funny. I have a lot. I have a lot to be grateful for in the way of parents that, you know, whether that's the parents that I've coached their kids or what, you know, I've encountered certain hard moments, but by and large, I've been really fortunate. And I think a lot of that is, there's some preventative things that I think coaches need to be doing in terms of laying the groundwork for trust, communication, expectations. If that isn't laid, the culture is pretty clearly going to be, there's going to be negativity that just takes over. I don't know if it was John Gordon. I'd hate to misquote that, but my husband always says, where there's a void in communication, negativity fills it. And so, not that we need to just overtalk all the time, but I'm quick to get to resolution. I'm quick to having conversations, preventative things, not just reaction type things, because I think it's going to head toward a negative. We can't be surprised in that. It's just that is the nature of athletics. That is the nature of biased parents. I mean, yeah, opinions, belly buttons, the whole deal.
Yeah. Well, and without communication, you talked about void. I had not heard that quote before, but it's so true because I have a very active imagination.
Yes.
And so, and my daughter does as well. So it's funny to watch that with the void of communication and not having the answer, where our mind goes and Mach 2. Like it's already done, over. And we've worked through the whole process. It's 6 months down the line and we're done. Like, wait a minute. It's not even, this just happened. We don't even know the true answer.
Based on an assumption or a perspective on something. It's so dangerous. And so, but it is human nature. That's what we're doing. We kind of play the scenarios out. So yeah, quick to communicate and quick to resolve as best we can.
Yeah. Cause we rarely imagine all the positive things that could be happening. It's just the negative, but
yeah, we talk a lot about that. This might be a question for later, but like when I'm sitting across from parents in our preseason meeting, we talk, let's have a benefit of the doubt, I trust you perspective. And that goes both ways. So instead of being the coach that's expecting the negative to come out, and so any look I get or anything I see going, I probably don't understand. I probably am missing something. There must be something that I'm missing, instead of going, I'm not missing anything. I know exactly who that person is and I know exactly what they're thinking, and put a narrative on them that they didn't actually earn. And I asked them the same. I said, trust that I love your kid. Trust that I love your kid. If you trust that and you put my actions through a lens of I love them, then the question isn't, how could you do this? It's, hey, can you tell me why? And we can approach things with weapons down. It's just not looking at people like they're the bad guy before they actually are.
Well, and a couple of interviews I've had with Coach Jeff Hubner. Do you know him at Palm Beach Atlantic? You should.
Okay.
He's unbelievable. So I've had him on twice, and every time I have him on, he just delivers amazing wisdom. And he shared that coaches should always assume that players are trying their best.
Yeah.
They didn't mean to shank the ball out of bounds. Like that was not their intention. And I started thinking about that as a parent. I'm trying my best. This is the first time I've done this. This is the first time I've had a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old, and soon it'll be the first time I've ever had a 17-year-old daughter. So what we have to understand is, one, give ourselves grace as we're trying. Doesn't mean that, well, it's just the way I'm going to be. Right. But at the same token of we're trying our best. And then the second thing along those same lines is he said that, and I think he got this from a book, is that most people's mistake are 3%. They do 97% of it correctly, but 3%'s wrong. And he said, as coaches and probably as parents, we rewind all the way to the beginning and we try to start over from scratch when 97% of what they did or what we do was correct and accurate. It just maybe our knees weren't bent low enough, or like you had stated in, I think it was your latest post, was about an athletic stance, but you don't move your body, you just move your arms. Well, that's that 3% difference. And so it made me think with your comment of that as a coach and as a parent, that we have to assume that the other person is trying their best, and where their communication might not have been 100% perfect, it still was pretty close to being good. Now, how do we manage through the 3%? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. A phrase that's been probably the most impacting, fruitful thing I could say in moments of, conflict or friction or whatever is, hey, can you just help me understand? Not coming in with a pointed finger, dropping accusation. It's not about lack of accountability. I think there's high accountability even when you're asking that question, because accountability doesn't have to be a slap on the wrist. Accountability can be a conversation saying like, hey, something seems off here. Can we talk about it? talk to me about where your expectations and my actions, where's the gap? Help me understand. That doesn't mean I'm owning that what I did was wrong, but let's get to a place of better understanding. I think people feel really loved in that, and it's harder to be violent or reckless or have no self-control when you feel loved and you feel listened to. And so, yeah, benefit of the doubt. Trust that they're giving their best. Ooh, their best right there fell short. Let's address that in a way that's honoring to them.
Yeah. And then they're receptive. They're receptive to the feedback. I know if somebody's screaming at me, I'm done. I'm not listening to a word that you say, even though there's maybe a ton of truth in it. The delivery is not landing where it should.
Well, I don't trust you anymore. I'm not safe with you anymore. Yeah, for sure.
Sure. And one of the other things that he and I talked about is that feedback is just data. And this is what you were somewhat alluding to earlier, is that just take it in as data and then how to process it, how to move past it. And I've learned that I can strip more emotion away as if I'm hearing it, I'm going, okay, this is just data. This is just feedback. It's not an attack on me. Because so many times we talked about imagination, is if I'm getting feedback, because I wasn't raised in a house where I had screamers or yellers. And when I hear that, I take that as I'm not loved by that person anymore. So it turns it from feedback to emotional, and then my imagination goes wild.
Right. Yeah.
So you talked about earlier about listening. And so one of the questions that I had is doing some research on you, is that you were having tremendous success at a high school that you were at. You'd been there for 8 years. You'd won 5 consecutive, was it district titles or region titles? And then all of a sudden in 2021, you decided at the top of your game that it was time to move on. So you alluded to listening. So walk us through a little bit more about what that looks like and how others can effectively listen to what God's changing plans may be for them.
Man, it's such an encouraging and difficult part of my story. I think I had to take a step back and not just look at one component of my life. I think when we are in one thing and we have blinders on and we're like coaching, like, man, like I love this school. I feel supported. We're winning. I've built something. Why would I abandon it? It can feel like it's nonsense to leave. But when you lay it down at the table, so there was a pastor, gosh, I don't know, 10 years ago. I mean, this was when my son, I have an 11-year-old, oldest was 11, and he was a baby. So we're 10 years ago. There was a teaching in our church about putting things on the table before God. And, he put pictures of his family, he put his car keys, he put his house key, he put just everything of substance in his life. He just put it on this table. And he said, God's not going to just take things away just because you put it on the table. He wants to know he has your heart, and that you're living a life with open hands, that you're not holding on to things saying you can have everything but this. And so from that point forward, and I'm so thankful that we got that early on. I've been married 14 years, been a mom for 11 years. I feel like early on in our journey, we were hearing and getting coaching on what does it look like to live open-handed? How do you run your race well, do what you're doing with excellence, but not hold on to it like it's life or death? And if this job was taken away from me, if this title was taken away from me, is that okay with me? And so every year we would sit. I was I have to kind of back up on my story a little bit to get to this. But I was a high school teacher. So when we got married, I was teaching high school math, and I coached at the school I was at. Ironically, it's at the school I'm at now. That was 14 years ago. So God's kind of funny in how that all went down, but taught there for a year. And then I went to the school that I ended up being at for a long time. I taught there for 2, had my first child, and decided to stay home. And so I'm probably not hardwired in general to be at home. But I was thankful for that time. I got to be primarily with my child, and then I coached at night. So I would get out of the house and I would get to use my body and use some of my gifts and feel like I was doing something else. I think that was really good for me as a human. I think that was just good for me. And so I did that for a while, but throughout our journey, I've had to kind of be consistently listening to where God is leading us. Hey, what does it look like for me to not be bringing in income? Does our family need that? What can I be doing that's using some of my gifts that God's given me? How can I partner with my husband in ministry? He works with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He's been on staff for 10 years. So he was on staff long before I was. And I was just trying to find creative ways as a stay-at-home mom to plug in and be present with him in those places. And so I'm just really thankful that we were able to strip back. I wasn't working full time so that I could be responsive to needs as they were coming up. But then I had coached for 8 years. I was at that point working part-time with FCA, 20 hours a week, and had 3 kids, and just felt like, man, we're in this area that our kids aren't going to be in. They're not going to be going to that school. It was about 30 minutes from home, so a lot of travel time. I was investing in an area of people that I loved dearly, but that wasn't going to be where my family was. And I think that was starting to stir in me. I knew that I was feeling something in me, and this is hard to put a finger on. And I feel like I left that area where some people got understood because they were in line with me spiritually, and other people were like, "Why did she leave?" Because there wasn't an argument. I didn't get kicked out. We weren't losing. I wasn't upset with anyone. Like, they couldn't understand that I would choose to leave a good thing. And I just said, man, there is just something in my spirit. And I would point to my belly. There's something in my spirit that is just, I just know that this chapter is over. And I told the girls at the very beginning of the season, we had an incredible last season because of that. It was like, we all graduated together. It was like, it wasn't like an end of the year, I dropped the bomb on them. It was like, hey, I want you to know that I'm going to give you my very best this last year. In my heart, I felt God saying, hey, I want you to lay this coaching thing down for a minute. And you don't know what's next. Because people are like, well, where are you going? Are you leaving to go to another school? And I was like, no, I'm not coaching. And it was difficult because I think I'm made to coach. I think there's a part of me that comes alive when I coach. And I just said, I'm not going to coach for a minute. I had a daughter at that point who was 5, who I knew would probably want to play. And I was like, maybe one day I'll coach her. And I kind of just said that. And then I got kind of into a rhythm that next year where I was more present at home. I homeschooled my kids for a year. And then that next year I was able to put them into public school for the first time. So that was a really big transition for our family. And I was able to be present for them after school. I could pick them up. We could process together. I felt like I was losing some time with them. So I was able to pour back into them at night. And then in that school district was when the athletic director called me and said, hey, I hear that you're back in this district and we need a coach. What do you say? And I was like, I had been asked by a couple other schools to consider coming back to a different school to coach during that off season. And it was a very clear no. Just like, hey, thanks so much, but no. Thanks so much, but no. Never once did it stir anything in me of this is a yes from the Lord. And then when that school called me, where my kids were enrolled, where our family was plugging in, I love public school. As a public school kid, my mom was a public school teacher. I taught. I think that it's a mission field for our family. I was like, man, what an opportunity to be invested here. Almost like, put your stamp somewhere. And it was a yes. So that it was just kind of I didn't know what was next. And people were like, oh, I mean, there was a few people I think probably thought that I knew where I would be ending up and that I lied. And I was like, that's okay. God's big enough to handle my reputation. I didn't know. And he opened a new door for me after my yes to shutting that one happen. So God is really kind. I wanted to coach. I didn't want to stop. My family was on board and it was just the right fit at the right time.
Yeah, and it goes back to the would you rather questions of making the right decision and knowing the right answer is that in the moment, that was the right decision to step away. It probably wasn't the right answer by culture's definition of you're winning, everything's going well, you don't have anything lined up already, and look how it turned out to be the right decision. And so many times we make a decision hoping that this is the right decision because we already have something planned of the way we want it to go. Well, then that's not really the right decision. That's the decision we want to make and we hope is the right decision versus you being obedient and faithful, saying, I'm not sure where this is going to go, but this feels like what I need to do.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, God is kind, but he doesn't always show me what's next. That's not the definition of kindness, right? Like, I believe he's faithful, he's a provider. And so, yeah, there's, I mean, countless stories biblically, and then countless stories in my life where I have felt compelled to take a step, not knowing what the next step would be. And that's hard, but it's okay. And I think it's the moments in my life where faith has been established the most firmly, where I have made gains in my faith in him, because he showed up here. If he showed up here, I know he's going to show up there. So the next time I'm in that moment, the next time I'm looking at a blank canvas going, I don't know this story. Hey, God, what's this chapter going to be? And I don't have it. I can lay that down and go, I don't know right now. And my prayer now has changed to God, show me, God, show me, God, show me, to it's still some of that. I'm not going to lie, but to, hey, God, when it's time, I trust that you'll show me, because you always have.
And that's hard. That's hard.
Yeah, and help me. And I say that to, like, don't, God, show me. And sometimes I'm dense. Like, show me in ways that are going to be helpful to me. For a big one for me is provision. So whether that's, FCA, we're support raised. So like trying to trust the Lord for our income, and trust the Lord that he has put us here on purpose for a time. And he's going to provide for that. Another one would be, FCA is building some sport clubs. So I've got a volleyball club that we've launched. Wanting the right people to come be a part of that is the biggest bottleneck for growth, facilities and people. And so I'm not willing to outgrow that. If we don't have the right coaches coaching, I'm not going to just create teams and just plug random people in there, because then we're any other team. Our DNA is different. Our vision and mission is different. We need to have the right people at the helm. And so I've just been, I'm hitting the ground running. I'm burning up the phones. I'm doing my job, but a lot of it is prayer. A lot of it is, Lord, you have everyone and everything at your disposal. Would you move in the hearts of some men or some women to get them excited to come to me? Like, what would it look like if we started going to the Father and saying, hey, you got the storehouse, I don't have it. And instead of trying to pretend like I could drum that up, just trust him. Even just last night, we had a local scrimmage at a high school. It was like a lot of schools were at one place. We had 30 teams in one place. And a guy that I know, I'm an acquaintance of, don't know him well, did not know where he was in his faith, just came out to me and goes, hey, my daughter, who's about to go play college volleyball, is really interested in coaching with you. I don't know what opportunities are around, but she would love to talk to you. And I just immediately, I almost cried in that moment, but he doesn't know me well enough. He would have been like, what is happening? But I just was like, Lord, here you are again. Here you are again, just being my headhunter. Like you care about what we're doing. And that's how I know it's a green light from God. I know that it's a yes from him. And every step feels validated, because he's going, hey, I got another one for you. Hey, I got another place for you. Here, I've got another, I love that God is, he's faithful. And so we just have to trust him in those places.
Well, he gives it to us when we're ready. If it prospered super early, super fast in what your vision was and how everybody wants their new projects and plans to go, you might not have been ready to handle the influx to where then you felt like there's so many girls coming in. I just need coaches to fill all these spots. And we saw it in a local upward group here, is there was such a need. It got to the point they just never said no. They kept saying yes. And then it got to the point where it imploded, not in a negative, sinful way, but it was just, there was no way to support all the need that was coming in. And they just couldn't stop saying yes, which I understand, but it just created a real challenge and a problem for the gentleman that was trying to run it and put it together, because he couldn't get people to coach, versus saying, look, I know you all want in here. We've got to do this the right way. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, going back to the greatness thing, like, man, whether, and it might not be pride, it might just be truly like, I want people to have an opportunity to hear the gospel and learn how to play basketball. But it can also be, for me, what I've had to guard is, not just wanting to be successful and grow because it looks good, or it validates me and my effort. and go, I'm actually okay with a slow burn. I'm okay with steady growth, or even stopping and saying, we're going to do this well before we get to this. I think God's always stirring vision in me. Like we talk a lot about crock potting. God has taught me how to crock pot things. I said this earlier, I have a bias to action. I want to go. I don't want to be patient. And what he's taught me is, hey, I've got some really big things ahead. And they're for then. And so he used to not show me things. I used to have to I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for the idea, because I would have, in an immature, an impatient way, I would have run after those things. And so now God has done more and more where he starts to put things in my heart that I'm starting to see. And he's like, man, that's going to be really cool, isn't it, when we get to that? And I'm like, yeah, man, that's going to be really cool. It's not yet though, right? And right now is good. It's not that this isn't good. We need to build this, like scaffold it, like have a firm foundation for this, make it sustainable, make this outlast yourself. That it's not just this Jenga house or this house of cards that when one person is removed from the equation, the whole thing topples. Like God wants to build things that last. And so that's, the crock potting thing has been a harder thing to learn, and one that God has had to really work on me in.
Oh, I'm sure that's with everybody, because that's society. We have microwaves. Why? Because we can't wait. We need it now. And so we're going to sacrifice the health of something by stick it in a radioactive box to cook it quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
So on the second thing, you talked about growing slow, having vision. So scrolling through, it looks like you just really started your Instagram, your first post in February of this year. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm curious. So you have probably almost 28,000 followers now. So when you started in February, how many did you have?
0. We built the account. Yeah. And what's even wilder is we were really thinking Instagram, and then Facebook, we're like over 70 now, which kind of like was like oh yeah, we'll put it on Facebook too. And then it's like, whoa. And I think it's because we're hitting a lot of parents, and that's a lot of times where the parents are. But yeah, I have essentially, that was a God thing too. I just because I would like to very clearly say I deflect full ownership or glory from this, because my husband has always said, I think people should follow you around with a camera. And I'm like, that's terrifying. I think that's just scary. But he's like, I don't know. I just think, and he'd always joke about that. And I was like, yeah, I would never be able to manage that. I would never want to do that. And then 2 years ago, we were sitting in the first ever parent meeting for our FCA Force baseball team. So we launched, the first thing we ever did with FCA Sports was baseball. We had one team. My son was on it. One of my fellow colleagues with FCA's other son was on it. So it was just kind of like this, hey, let's just try this thing, you know? We called it a beta version baseball. And at that meeting, after my kind of job was done, I sat aside, and this parent comes up to me whose son was playing, and he had daughters that were playing rec volleyball. And the rest of that entire conversation was all about volleyball. He's like, I got so many ideas, like, you know, and I was like, well, here's what I'm thinking. And so some of those crock pot things started to kind of come out, and we started kind of building this together. And he happened to be like kind of in the brand messaging, communication, management world that I was not. And so he was like, hey, if we're going to grow this thing, I want people to know you. I want people to hear you. He validated things I was saying. He's like, this is good. I want the world to know it. And I want to build trust in this area around your name. And I was like, okay. I mean, at first it was just going to be our FCA page. I was like, yeah, we need to have an FCA volleyball page, an Instagram account. And he was like, we're going to do this Coach KB thing. And I wrestled with it. I was like I didn't, you know, what does that appear to look like? How are people going to receive that? Never really thought about far away people. I was thinking locally. I'm thinking I've been coaching here for 10 years. What are my peers going to feel about that? Like there was a lot of apprehension in me. And then I went to we had a college athlete retreat in Kentucky every year. We have one in January. One of our favorite men in our life, his name was Pastor Tim Jones. He actually recently passed away. So this was kind of his last deposit into our family. He was a prayer warrior. He would just come to all of our events, and he would open up, you know, just like hey, come pray, come here. And he would hear from the Lord in really special ways and kind of intercede. And I just went to him without any expectations, just said, hey, I love prayer. And I saved it. I have a voice memo of this prayer. Anytime I get a little bit like, okay, God, what are you doing? And PT, he specifically started praying about social media. He specifically started praying about influence and growing my voice. And I was weeping. And I was like, Lord, thank you. Like, thank you. I needed it to be that explicit because I had been fighting that. And he prayed and spoke about my heart. My biggest fear would be I would lean toward pride and that my motive would be impure. And without saying any of this, Jeff, it was wild. He just goes, the Lord wants you to know that your motives are pure and that what might have been an issue for you 10 years ago is no longer that issue. And you're released from that. And I was like, so anyway, all that to say, the story is deeper, I think, than even just what it appears to be. And I believe the Lord is in that. And so it has happened really fast. And it's been, like I said, early on, difficult. There was a lot of noise in it for me and a lot of like, taking personal shots. I was, there's a lot of love, but I'll tell you what, you feel a like, you can feel 10,000 likes less intensely than you feel one hateful comment.
Sure.
And I've had to work through that and just kind of minimizing the volume of that and the impact that has on my heart.
That was your Moses moment. Like everything, the whole time you were describing that, it was just, you go back to hearing Moses battling with himself of like, why me? Like what, I'm not qualified for this. And then you had your burning bush moment, which is really, really cool to see. And what I took from that, and hopefully the audience heard it as well, is surrounding yourself with the right people and then listening to them, allow them to speak to you. And the people that are genuine that you should listen to. And then there's the other people that may love you dearly and you may love them, but you should not take advice from them. Yep. And that's hard. It's really difficult to know. It's like, I love you. However, I don't feel like that your advice is really in line with what I need to do. And that's a hard thing to balance. And it sounds like you had a really strong influence from a very godly man that helps you find that way.
Yeah. And he was one of many. That was definitely the most intensely clear and spirit-filled moments. But yeah, I 100% agree. Like your community, who you're surrounding yourself with, who you're choosing to ask good questions to, who you're allowing permission to speak into your life. We need to be really careful to not pick the wrong people, and to also not have those people. Like I think a lot of people just don't ask for that kind of counsel, and so and invite those types of people into their life. So yeah, we need help.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to be very respectful of your time, and would love to find out what are some of the last parting words that you would have for the audience today.
I feel like the heart kind of today has been about listening. And I mean, there's a lot I could speak to in the conversation around parents and their voice with their kids, and tons to say to athletes about their identities and who they're seeking to please. But I think where God's kind of led this time, which is really cool, is more about like, where are you at? Like what crossroad are you at in your life? And really just to reiterate, think about the table and what are the things that, well, something else I've said this other places, so forgive me if you've heard it, but if you think about your life as a pie, and you've got slices of things, typically you're going to want a bigger slice for your family, or maybe your career, maybe a smaller thing for recreation, or like just kind of like, prioritizing things in your life. Oftentimes we're like, well, God needs to have the biggest piece. Like we need to make sure he has a larger percentage of our life. And the visual that's helped me the most is that he's not a piece of my pie. He's the crust of my pie. And he actually wants to invade every part of it. He wants to hold it together. He wants to be, he wants to touch it all. And when I think about the table, that's what I see is there a part of my life that he's not touching? Is there a part of my life that I'm afraid he might take that? And I don't, I don't know. And where he leads, he provides. You can trust that he's going to show you the way. And I just met with a girl who's just graduated college, and she's looking at her future, going, everybody's been there. Like, we're like, you're 22 and you're going, I don't know anything. I don't know what my career is going to be. I don't know who I'm going to marry. Man, hardest moments of your life are formed and forged in that fire. And I just keep saying, hey, just keep putting everything on the table. Like, if there's anything that's like hidden in the closet of your heart that you're like, you can't touch that. That's the area that he wants to just know that he has your trust. And so it doesn't mean he's going to take that thing. It doesn't mean he's going to push you off that cliff. It just means that you trust your father. And that is step one. So I think that's kind of my heart, what was on my mind right now.
Yep. I love it. So how can people find and follow you, especially if their child plays volleyball?
Yeah. So my Instagram account at Coach KB. Gosh, is that the right one? I don't even know what it's called. Is that what? Yeah, it's going to be, I think there's an underscore in there. Gosh, I sent it to you. Can you help me find it? Because I lost it.
Yes. And I'll put it all in the show notes if you happen to look for show notes. I know a lot of people don't.
I got it. It's Coach _KB Sallee. That's the best way to get with me. I mean, I've got personal accounts and stuff, but those are going to be managed more regularly. And that's kind of where all my content for faith and volleyball collide.
Yep. And she's got great tips and things for your athlete that plays volleyball. It's great. And then it's a wonderful page. So thank you for being faithful, because we've benefited from it. It speaks to young people, whether they really pay attention or not. They hear you, they see you. And so as a parent of a volleyball player, thank you.
Absolutely. And hey, maybe I'll come back and we can talk more volleyball. Yeah,
always. It's funny. So my daughter started when she was 8, and I'm still learning the game.
Yeah, that's actually, we're kind of developing a tool, because there is so much, volleyball is this booming sport that a lot of parents haven't played, because it's such a growing sport now. And so there's a lot of confusion, I think, around parts of the game that it makes it difficult to know how to engage. And so I'm trying to build a tool that would be good for beginning coaches, families, players to go, hey, here's the rules of the game. Here's how you understand the flow, all of that kind of stuff, because the more you know, the more you can engage in a healthy way, as opposed to armchair quarterback kind of way where you don't really know what you're talking about. But trying to be helpful to meet families where they are in their learning of the game. So,
yep. And then USAV will change the rules again.
Amen. I know. It's crazy, man.
I got to figure it out. Now, wait a minute. There's doubles now? I don't know.
How many jerseys do we have on the court at one time? I don't get it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Coach, thank you so much. Hang tight real fast. But everybody, Coach KB.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us on the Pathways to Greatness podcast. We hope that today's conversation inspired you to take steps towards your own greatness. Remember, every journey starts with a single step. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might benefit. Actually, share it with 3 people that you might think it might benefit. Until next time, keep pursuing your passions and carving your own path to greatness. Take care.